everybody, and welcome here today. I am absolutely excited, delighted, in fact, honoured, because I don't get too many international guests. I'm delighted here to have Alan from Epic CRM. How are you, sir?
I'm very good, thank you, Simon. How are you doing?
I'm all right, yeah, not bad. As I said, a bit daft. I've been still saying happy New Year to everybody, but that's going to look even dafter if people are looking at this on Watch back in about May or June. But yeah, I think most people will forgive me anyway, or expect it of me.
I'm pretty sure they do.
Alan, we've kind of known each other on and off, obviously, because we're from, where I used to be in the same space. You're from the CRM world. You're over there in gorgeous Malta at the moment. We're going to dip into your really, really exciting backstory and indeed current story and even more exciting future around this product that you've got, and a CRM product that you're looking to take now internationally, aren't there? Do you want to just give us a bit of first of all, sorry, I've forgotten the most important thing is the title, which sometimes I kind of have to read out and sort of like, shrug my shoulders and it's a bit boring. But we have probably one of the best titles today, which you'll have to forgive me, an epic penetration into the UK PropTech market. I like that. I'll be honest. It's not,
I'm glad you do, Simon.
Not a bit of pizzazz. That should get people thinking and concentrating.
Yeah, it's a bit of a tongue-in-cheek title there, but
look,
obviously
you're at the right place. If tongue-in-cheek, that's exactly where we're at. So give us a bit of an overview then, in terms of sort of Epic CRM. What is it? What's it about? Why should people be listening to the rest of this?
Absolutely, Simon. So thanks for introducing. As you very well introduced, we're based in warm, sunny Malta. It is actually a bit warmer than it should be at this time of year here as well at the moment.
You're not winning any friends here, by the way.
A bit of a brand ambassador for Malta as well while we're at it. No, Simon. So yes, basically this is exactly the location where we started off 9 years ago. I think I've been saying 9 years ago for over a year now, so it must probably be around 10 years. I basically, together with my team, we introduced property technology in the local market way before PropTech was even a buzzword here in the local market. Yeah. And very rapidly we have grown the real estate CRM that we have at the moment into basically the #1 player in Malta. Obviously, it's great to be #1, Simon, but it also tends to be very boring very quickly if there's not much room for improvement you can do. So obviously, we've set our eyes on the international market, and this internationalization process started off pretty much around last year. So just over 12 months ago now. And obviously, the UK is a very important region for us. First of all of our team is English speaking, so there's no issues with supporting our customer base in the UK. Yep. We're also sitting in the same time zone, so that's brilliant. So yes, the UK together with other markets are really important for us, and therefore we're looking for an epic penetration, Simon.
Excellent. Well, I mean, that's a great sort of overview there. And look, I've obviously looked at your technology, and I think what I like about it as well is some people get very, almost overexcited and that keen to breakness into the market and probably go a bit too soon. But you've taken a lot of time, haven't you? Looking, reviewing, assessing what small differences there are in the marketplace and getting those right before getting to this stage of saying, look, we'd love to talk to some of the UK, the UK agents and see just how relevant it is. And I think I'll say this throughout the course of it. I think there's a lot of people we talk to out there, they've got a little bit kind of like a bit frustrated at that, what that is. It's the most important part of your PropTech stack, your tech stack, the CRM system. And yet there's a lot of people looking around and saying, well, we kind of know all the same players. So it is really important, I think, that, people keep it fresh, keep that innovation up, and certainly that's why I'll be watching with interest to see how you get on there. And as you said, we started talking this time last year, whatever else, and you wanted to understand what some of the intricacies were before obviously making the decision that this was the right move for you.
That's absolutely correct, Simon. I mean, as I said, we've been around for the past 10 years, and we could have started the internationalization process way before if we wanted to. But I think it would have been a bit premature, because obviously we wanted to build a product that is fit for the international market. And as you very well said, Simon, we consulted with you, Kerfuffle, and also with other bodies, where we have made very sure that we analyze the gap, if there is one, between the product and the market needs. And obviously, throughout this past 12 months, we have managed to bridge the gap, or most of it, if I may say. Obviously, we've done this by developing a product that is as configurable as possible. And that obviously is a benefit to our customer base. Yeah.
And so what would your clients say about you? Never mind what we're going to obviously talk about in the UK. What would your clients, given that you have got such market, such market share, such market domination over there, what would you like to think your clients in Malta said about the Epic CRM system?
I think it's not just the clients in Malta, Simon. I think it's all the customers that we have around the globe. Basically, I think the one thing they can all agree about, and we keep getting this time and time again, Simon, it's the user experience. Okay. I think most customers will agree to this once they get to see a glimpse of the product. Obviously, the whole team works really hard on the product, but our user experience team is especially focused on getting feedback from the customers, getting feedback from the users themselves, because I mean, we mostly deal with top-level decision-making people when we're closing the deal, but it's ultimately the users, the agents themselves, and senior management who are using the system on a daily basis. And obviously, our user experience team is constantly in touch with these kind of people to get feedback to see how we can improve. So this is pretty much a general consensus on our product.
I think that's a really fascinating point. That it's such an important one there. I can remember the amount of times that, as we all do, you sell to the principal of a business, the decision makers of the business, but actually often sometimes it can be forgotten to take the team with you. And if you don't get the actual users that are going to be using it from the first minute they log into the office to the last minute, they log out of the system and everything else. If they haven't bought into it, no PropTech or technology is going to work anyway, is it?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think this is a very important step in the entire implementation process of any system, really. I mean, I'm a techie by background. I've been focusing on PropTech for the last 10 years, but I've been doing technology in general for more than that. And I know for a fact that in order to have a successful implementation of any software solution, you need the buy-in of the people in general who are going to be using the product. So yes, that's a very important point, Simon. Yeah.
Excellent. And it looks really slick in terms of, you took us through an overview of it, and I just thought, there's some products that obviously it takes you a while to get used to, and CRM by definition, because you've got so much going on, so much data, so much presentation layers, it's easy to end up with a complicated system there. And what I think you've done really well is balance that ability to present a lot of information simply, which is, is critical, isn't it?
Yeah, I think most people confuse and use the words interchangeably between sophistication and complication. I think we've managed to strike a balance here where we've done a sophisticated piece of solution, especially with certain functionality that the agents use on a daily basis, but we've kept it simple in the way it works. And I think that is the secret formula here.
Great. Well, you're talking to simple Simon, so that's a positive. If I can find my way around it, anyone can. So that's good. So can we just go right back to why did you start off all those years ago just over there? How did it come around in the first place?
It was a bit of a gamble, really, Simon, because when we started developing the product, I think we launched 10 years ago, so we must have started developing the product around almost 12 years ago now. And back then we only had one customer who was ready to commit to buying the product. So obviously it was a gamble, but sometimes you need to go by your gut feeling and not by the numbers. I mean, the numbers don't lie, and they're important.
Do I look like a numbers man to you?
So we always had a good gut feeling about the product. We always believed in what we can do for the customers, and we believe that the real estate agencies in general need a new product. So that is how we decided to embark on the product, and we never looked back, just to see how far we've come.
Let's give a big shout out to all those early adopters. They're the ones that
indeed
that see the vision, don't they? Don't mind that bit of a gamble. But there's a real, we do hear a lot from our Kerfuffle side. We hear from so many agents that really genuinely want to get to the new tech at the earliest possible stage, so that they can take full advantage of it, if that makes sense.
Indeed, to a certain extent, perhaps even influence it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because you know what, don't you? You are going to be involved. And I think that's, you've been really honest, as you said, you spent a long time looking at this for the internationalizing it, if you like. But where you're at the moment is you'd love to talk to UK agents, don't you? Just to first of all get feedback from them, of course, and to have that opportunity to shape where it goes going forwards. Because I think there are so many obviously great CRMs over here, but obviously a lot of them are kind of stuck in their ways because of how long they've evolved, haven't they?
Absolutely, absolutely. And obviously, different real estate agencies and different real estate markets in different regions do perhaps work a little bit differently from one market to the other. But ultimately, the agent himself, the agent herself, what they would need typically is a software that gives them what they're really looking for at the point in time when they're using the product as quickly as possible without too much trouble, because they want to be focusing on selling and letting properties rather than rather than using and find their way through a system, you know. So obviously that is what we keep in mind throughout.
Excellent. And you mentioned before, and I know one of the things I've been most impressed about is that you do have this global global following, this global client base. How similar are estate agents or real estate agents challenges out there when you're looking at that, that niche area of CRM? I mean, there will be, obviously, I know myself, there are differences, but are there still overwhelmingly common challenges and needs and requirements that a CRM system like Epic needs to provide?
Absolutely, I think there is. Time and time again, we keep being surprised or perhaps shocked, if I may say, how the number of agencies we come across in different regions where not only they could be perhaps using legacy technology, but even if they're not using legacy technology, they're using multiple systems to run their business. And I think that is a main pain point which most agencies would want to tackle. So we've seen, not to our surprise, many agencies that are using a CRM system just for their customer data, another completely different system for their property listings. Yeah. Perhaps for smaller agencies, they could even be trying to get by with an Excel sheet for that.
Yeah.
So
still out there, yeah.
Yeah, so obviously, we did identify that as a main common pain point across industries, irrespective of the region, really. And I think this is one of our main USPs here, if you ask Simon. I think our main USP is that we're offering a one-stop shop product for agencies that is good for the user, as in the agent, but also good for senior management, because we have a set of functionality for senior management, which we can perhaps talk about in another session, because obviously we don't want to be going into too much detail today. But it is so important, and people emphasize on this great benefit, that the property listings, the customer data, the entire customer journey is all sitting in the same system, and you can leverage on that power to obviously work your magic as an agent.
I've seen that the other extreme of that, where genuinely, there's a system for sales, there's a system for lettings. Some people use a system for the CRM system as a marketing tool. Others use it as a way of uploading to the web for their listings, and and it can become a complete spider's wedge hodgepodge, can't it, of technology that really doesn't work there. So yes, to be able to consolidate that is vital. I was doing one of our kind of health check consultancy sessions the other day. It was only a 5-office agency, but they had 46, wasn't just PropTech, to be clear, but the majority was 46 different products and services out there, to the degree that the person I was sat with had to go away probably on one of every 3 of those and say, yeah, even I don't know what that does. I mean, that's really incredible when you think about it, that I suppose to a degree, isn't it? It's a bit like, I'm just showing that there. It's a bit like all the apps on your phone, though, isn't it? You download sort of on a whim. You think, oh, that's going to solve a short one. If you don't get into it in a very quick period of time, it just gets left on the pages, off your homepage where it's not being used at all. And that's not great, is it? Because that isn't the efficiency that systems like yours are meant to generate.
That's absolutely correct, Simon. I think that's a good example. And isn't it wonderful when you're looking at a single source of truth? When if you want to look up for a customer, irrespective of whether they're a letting customer or a sales customer, whether they're an owner of whatever property it is, whether it's for rent or for sale, it's in one system, and everyone's looking at the same source of truth. I think that is key. to a scaling business.
And it's amazing, because obviously there's a lot of out there in the wider world of just sort of generic CRMs. They struggle with that even themselves. I mean, we ourselves use Salesforce. Obviously, everyone knows that kind of as the gorilla in the wider room there. And yet to have that, to have a single source of truth with, your email marketing system, it's really difficult and frustrating to get that working so that everybody has that point of truth, point of view. So, if they struggle with it, those ones there, it shows how challenging, but therein lies the benefit, doesn't it? If you can crack that, the opportunities within an agency where you are looking at referrals often, whether that's from sales to the lettings property management department, whether it's from sales through to referrals for conveyancing, whether it's through for financial services, once you break down those Chinese walls, extra business does become that much easier to do.
Yeah, that's correct, Simon. In fact, I think the key here is to strike a balance. Just with anything else in life, the key is to strike a balance. And I think it's good to have a one-stop shop system that covers the main business processes for a real estate agency. But then again, you don't want to be overwhelming the user with a lot of functionality that they'll never get to use, because ultimately that becomes a lot of garbage on the screen. So I think this is again where the user experience team has done a lot of very valuable work on Epic Agent CRM.
Excellent, good stuff. What else is there in terms of USPs I should be asking you about? What do you feel most proud about that you've got within the, you've got that kind of simplicity, the UI sounds like, that user experience there. Are there other things you can point towards?
Yes, we spoke about the user experience. We spoke about having all of your estate agency data sitting in one system. But besides that, obviously, another USP that we boast here is easy onboarding and assistance with data migration. So obviously, it's no secret that most agencies know that they need to make a change in their PropTech, but they keep procrastinating, not because they don't think they need to change, but it's because they're not too keen to go through the trouble of migrating their data and getting used to another system. So this is something which we emphasized a lot. So we said, listen, if we can make the data migration a breeze for the estate agency, and we can make it really easy to onboard and get familiar to, then obviously everyone's going to appreciate that. So that's something we've done a lot of work on. So yeah.
That I've termed that estate agency ostrich syndrome, where you know that you need to make this decision, but because it's perceived as being difficult, or when do you have the time to sit and do this? So you do keep kicking that can, if that's an ostrich kicking a can. I'm mixing my metaphors here, but kicking that can down the road is the easiest thing to do. The problem is if you're stuck with a legacy package, with a package that doesn't work for you. That means that day by day you're working at a disadvantage compared to your competitors that have a decent system, don't you?
That's absolutely correct, Simon. This is not to say that we do not appreciate that this is a very sensitive process, because obviously it is a very sensitive process.
Can't. I mean, that goes without saying anything, Alan, doesn't it? Moving CRM is moving. It is creating the foundations to your business from a tech perspective. That has to be done right, otherwise they're going to be dodgy foundations, aren't they?
That's correct. That's correct. But obviously, we've done this dozens of times. That it's our normal day-to-day. So obviously, for an agency that does this once, perhaps every decade or so, hopefully even less, if they've got a good system, obviously it could be a bit overwhelming for them. But obviously, for us that we do this on a daily basis, we've got a data migration team that's working specifically on these tasks on a daily basis. Obviously, that's our job. So do not let that, this is my suggestion here, do not let that be the main reason why you would procrastinate from basically turning the heart of your system into modern technology.
No, and I do say that. I mean, we obviously get people who come to us a lot who are looking for, consultancy about which CRM system to look for, how best to manage that process. And one of the just the quickest and best bits of advice is, look, don't underestimate the amount of work that goes into it. Don't just kind of do it glibly and don't think about it. But the other extreme of that is don't overthink it. don't get paranoid about it. Talk to yourselves about that process. And I think here's the key thing: really do listen to the provider about what they, what has been the best practice, the best case studies where people have, got running in the quickest possible time. And you won't go far wrong, will you? I mean, there's always something that comes out of the blue, but this is stuff, as you said, you've done it so many times. You
Exactly
can
so.
put to bed quite quickly, can't you?
And we tend to guide the customer on a step-by-step basis, so the customer never feels lost and in the dark about this so sensitive process. So I think that is very important as well. Yes.
So data conversion is always one of the biggest concerns, panic areas for people. But what do they need to, for somebody to understand what's possible? Do you need to take a cut of the data and then you can say, we're going to be able to move X, Y, Z across? What's the sort of process there for looking at getting people live?
Yes, if I can very briefly walk you through the process, because the process is not very complicated. I mean, the work behind it is a bit obviously sensitive, but the process is quite straightforward. So what we typically do is we ask the customer for the data structure, a copy of the data structure. This is not the actual data itself, but rather the structure. So some CRMs export to CSVs, some CRMs give us a backup file. We're not interested in the data at that point in time. What we're interested in is the structure of the database and the structure of the data, basically.
Yep.
So what we would do is we would start mapping out, obviously, the fields, mapping out the data, not to be too technical. Okay, so I'll try to keep it simple. Mapping the data from the current database to Epic Agent CRM database. And obviously, when we get to running that, we would ask the customer to give us a data dump, and we would typically migrate that over a day or two, depending on the volumes that we're talking about here. So that typically happens over a weekend. Obviously,
so you've got that concept of essentially starting the week with your data already in there, ready to go.
Obviously, there's a lot happening in the background, so we would have already trained the users in the meantime, so that when they're at the office on a Monday morning, they're basically using a system that they're already familiar with.
Excellent. That's good. One of the things you didn't mention there, but I said you definitely need to include in your ESPs is a mind reading, isn't it? USPs is that your cost point is really, really competitive, isn't it? And I think that's going to be refreshing. There used to be a lot of kind of very cost-effective packages in the marketplace, and I think through acquisition and things like that, they've largely left it. So I think there's a real potential for you for people who are looking for that real value for money proposition that you're able to, what we all want to have.
Simon, in fewer words, we could say epic pricing, perhaps.
I'm gonna re-edit this, but
yes, the way
go on, yeah.
So the way we work as a company, we're very lean. So that allows us to keep the pricing as lean as possible. So we want to offer a fancy product, but not with fancy prices. And obviously the pricing is very crystal clear. I believe even on our Kerfuffle profile, but also on our website, and there are no hidden costs. So that's good.
That's great. I mean, that again, that's another, every time we poll our agent clients, they do get bemused. And I think I don't believe it's that tech companies by definition go out of their way to mislead. I think they've tried to look at fairness, but it does sometimes lead to, you've got this bit that's available for that. You've got an upsell there, and all of it just leads to all it feeling a bit clunky, a bit too complex to understand. And what it ultimately means is it's quite difficult to understand what you're going to be paying, which of course is incredibly hard if you're looking to budget for stuff.
Yeah, in fact, even our pricing model, forget about the actual price itself, the model is very straightforward, and I think it offers a number of benefits to the customers, because we have not gone down the line of segregating the product into different versions with different numbers of features depending on how much you're paying. I think that is overcomplicated for no reason. We have one product that is available to all our customers, irrespective of their size. So obviously, it's a pay-as-you-go and a pay per user per month kind of pricing model. So the benefit here is that even smaller agencies are taking full advantage of a product that is being used by the larger competitors. So there's a level playing field. They don't need to be paying more to be using the same set of tools that their larger competitors are using. So I think that is the key benefit here, besides the price itself.
Perfect. So great on the price point. Obviously, you've got the innovation nailed down there as well. Sounds like, obviously, you know, you really put a lot of time, energy into thinking about how you make that onboarding experience. Clearly, that's one half of the story, isn't it? Once you are a client, once you've got all these happy clients, obviously, around the world and everything else, what do those guys expect? What can clients in the UK expect from the after service element of this? I think it goes without saying people will be expecting there to be kind of updates and that. What does that look like are there epic updates for an epic product? Is what my question would be.
I'm glad you mentioned that, Simon. Really and truly, an active user license entitles the agency to three things. So first of all, obviously, the first one is the actual usage of the system, but more importantly, there's free support included. There's free support included in the license, so there's no extra cost therefore for any support over and above certain threshold. It's unlimited support we're talking about here. And last but not least, as you mentioned, Simon, we are continuously evolving our product, and we're issuing quarterly releases. So typically customers should expect anywhere between 4 to 5 releases with some significant features in every release throughout the year. And obviously these releases are being inspired by the agencies themselves. We have a product roadmap, as you would expect, and this roadmap is being developed and adopted based on the feedback that we're constantly getting from the market itself. So
yeah, no, it's good to hear. Sometimes a lot of people feel the frustration that they're just you know, that they're just a small cog in the wheel, as it were, there, and they don't have too much influence. So again, that point that you can get on board with a company like yours and influence and talk to you about where it goes, I think would be appealing to many people.
Yes, and I think this is a very important point, Simon, because besides the product roadmap, we are, I think, one of the very few companies that entertain customization. This is customization that is not necessarily going to go into the product. So let's say there's an agency that requires a very specific piece of functionality that is perhaps not in line with how the market typically works, or they're looking to get some edge over their competition. We typically entertain those discussions and typically proceed with doing those customizations specifically for that agency. So that does not affect the rest of the product, and that does not affect their ability and entitlement to keep receiving new releases and new features as they go along.
That's pretty massive, actually, Alan, isn't it? Because one of the things that a lot of companies try to look for standardization and try and look at, you know, for let's be honest, they're looking for ease of use from their point of view, because it can become complex. But from what you're saying there, it sounds like you've got a way of being able to entertain that almost bespoke element to it without it ending up with a ring fence product, which would hold you back from future. You've already thought about that if I understand it right, in the technical makeup of the product.
Yes, that's absolutely correct. So the way, obviously, the main reason why many companies do not entertain that possibility is because they want to make it easier for themselves so that they can easily maintain the product. Obviously, we do want to easily maintain the product for efficiency's sake, but we've managed to structure from an infrastructure point of view, technical infrastructure point of view of our product. We've managed to design it in a way where we can still entertain these customization discussions without affecting the rest of the product. So I think that is a very important, perhaps another USP, Simon, if you will.
It definitely is another epic USP that we need to include there. Okay, well, look, absolutely great. I think it's really, really interesting, really fascinating, as well. As I said before at the beginning, there's been a couple of new entrants into the market as well, but CRM had been getting a little bit samey, would a lot of agents would have thought at the moment. So I think it's going to be very interesting to see it. Again, just to reiterate, you're looking for people, aren't you? To come in, obviously, go to Epic CRM on Kerfuffle.com, see that further information. If you are a member, log in, because you've been really kind as well. You've already got, as we spoke about, really cost-effective pricing, but you've put a special deal out there for Kerfuffle clients, haven't you? Do you want to just give us an overview of what's available there?
Absolutely, Simon, that's correct. So we've decided to go ahead and give 10% discount for the first 12 months to all Kerfuffle customers. And perhaps slightly unrelated, but very important for Kerfuffle customers to know. Customers might be a little bit unsure because of the fact that we are not physically based in the UK. it is important to mention at this point in time that we've had such a great response by the UK market so far that we already have two partners representing our product in the UK on the ground. So we've got a physical presence all over the world, which is growing through partners and resellers.
Yeah, look, I think more and more these days people are used to that international. There's a lot of businesses that are developed, being developed either in Australia or in the Middle East, everything else. That's just the way of the world, isn't it? But to have that combination of almost feet on the ground and that other element there is great, isn't it? So that's
for sure. I think that remains important.
I think the other thing they'll be really pleased to hear about that shows how seriously you're taking your plans into the UK market. You're really looking at this in a long-term kind of approach.
Absolutely. So we're not looking at quick wins here, Simon. We're looking at a long-term strategy. Obviously, this is why we've spent over a year planning this out. And we're looking for the next decade to be serving customers all over the world, but specifically in the UK market.
Excellent. Well, that's really, really good. Well, I'll just encourage everybody here. You've obviously heard Alan speaking today, really, really honest about it, talking about, obviously, they've got this really exciting product that's already being used internationally. He's looking for feedback, guys. If you're thinking about this at the moment, now's the time to getting on the ground floor, as they say, isn't it? So please do. There's an inquiry form over there, or we'll put the Calendly link in. I think that Alan's been really kind enough to provide us with. You can just book in, have a quick chat with himself, and find out what Epic is all about. I mean, it does what it says on the tin here, doesn't it? Really, in terms of the name.
Indeed, Simon. So we're looking forward to have a chat with anyone who's interested to have a look. A brief demo won't take very long, so we can go through the product to give a quick overview without going into much detail in less than 30 minutes. I think that gives a good understanding of what Epic Agent CRM could do for your business. And besides, there's no obligation at all. So I think there's no harm in booking that slot through Calendly, and we'll be happy to entertain.
Have an epic demo of an Epic CRM. There you are. We've nailed that off for people. Okay, well, look, we want to catch up. We're going to look at, obviously, the product in a bit more detail over the coming weeks and months, aren't we there? Definitely want to find out how this develops going further forwards. But for today, best of luck, obviously, with the UK market launch and everything else there. And we're gonna stay in touch, as I said. So thank you very much, Alan. And again, watch out for Epic.
Thanks for your time, Simon.
Cheers. Thank you very much.